managers and all those involved, regardless of their status. We'll be looking at that shortly on the details in as far as that is concerned. Still on the front page of the Standard, you'll see Kiambu MCA seek to join Waititu case. These are the 9 members of County Assembly that want to be enjoined to be in a position to make a contribution to the case. They were told yesterday that they need to make a formal application through their lawyer so that it can be considered by the defense as well as the prosecution side, and then the court can make a determination. So that's what is happening on the day on the Standard. But also Jubilee out to spoil ODM's party in Kibra. This is in accordance with the by-election that followed the death of Ken Okoth last month. President Uhuru Kenyatta's party stokes the fire of political contest in Nairobi with decision to field candidate in the opposition leader Raila Odinga's stronghold. What do you have on the Daily Nation?
The Daily Nation have gone big on their oil, 200,000 barrels, 1.2 billion Kenyan shillings. Nevertheless, experts say that for commercial production, it will be estimated to start within the second half of 2023. Brian Muruki, who works for the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining as an advisor, said that Kenyans would have to realize the benefits of oil beginning come 2022. Nevertheless, still attached to that story is the fact that KPA bosses, the Kenya Ports Authority, have also been cautioned by President Uhuru Kenyatta, saying, listen, carry your own cross. President Uhuru Kenyatta had told senior Kenya Airports Authority officials named in the 40 billion Kipevu Oil Terminal scandal to carry their own cross. This is yesterday, even as he was flagging off that shipment of the 200,000 barrels of crude oil. Just right there at the bottom, you also see Jubilee to field a candidate in Kibra mini-election. This is what Tuju has said, that Jubilee will also come out and field a candidate. ODM so far has about 24 individuals who have showed interest within that specific seat. And if there's a positive story that perhaps will make your day this morning, is the one that is on page 3. The white rhino could actually be saved. That's on page 3 of the Standard newspaper. Progress in the race of the Daily Nation, rather. Progress in race to save the white rhino. I'll let you grab a copy of the Daily Nation so you can find out how that will happen. But that's a bit of positive conservative news that is coming from the Daily Nation.
And so we begin with the question, the topic that we had, with the conversation we had yesterday with the president while he was launching the first export of oil, of course, sold to ChemChina, which is based in the UK. And before we get into the politics of graft war, I don't know, how does this make you feel? We saw several governors saying that they want to get a share of the goat. I remember Governor Joho saying that he wants part of the neck. Governor of West Pokot, Professor Lonyangapuo, says that he wants a bit of the ribs. But the president is telling them that he hopes that that goat can be used for the entire country. What does this make you feel as a country that for the first time you're seeing us exporting crude oil, albeit not massive? What do you see in the coming days?
No, I think it's great progress, and I think, but what we must focus on as a country is on fiscal planning and integrity in taking care of our resources. Because it's one thing to be able to begin to make money as a country, but we also must not learn to take care of it. Because we know what has happened in countries that have had, we know about what has happened in the Congo, what has happened in Central African Republic, Nigeria. So the fact that you are mining is not good enough. It's how you take care of. So we should become a more focused country in that direction.
Right. Senator, get this. When it comes to profit sharing of our oil so far, according to our Act, the 2019 Petroleum Act, 70% of whatever benefits or profits that come from oil, 70% will go to the national government, while another 20% goes to the local government, and another 5% will go to the local community. Is that okay?
Now, thank you. Of course, I come from some of the counties that really feel that the 5% is not enough.
For the local community?
Yes, for the local community. In as much as I agree with the law and also maybe what the president has said, for the locals who are on the ground, they are the ones who are mostly affected by the happenings on the ground. And this day and age of devolution, there is this feeling that if the minerals are discovered in our county, we are the direct beneficiaries. So I believe they have a say in it, and they should be actually considered in terms of how the revenue should be shared, in the sense that the benefits should come to them more than the 5%.
What do you think would probably stop Turkana from experiencing this, for them to enjoy the benefits of within their own region? Hospitals, schools, roads, etc.
There is a lot that has been promised even in those counties, especially the northern Kenya, when the exploration is taking place. by the contractors and all that. But at the end of the day, those promises are not fulfilled. Yeah.
Okay.
So I believe, of course, Turkana had a lot of sitting with the national government and all that to make sure that the 5% to be reconsidered. And of course, now it is casted in law.
Yeah.
It's a matter that they cannot be able to push further unless the legislation is amended.
All right.
But I think the benefit should directly come to them, especially, as you have said, the benefit of the hospitals, where the companies that do exploration give back to the community. Those things never happen. Like the roads that are done in those deep interior places, it's a benefit that accrues to the community. Those small things should be considered so that the communities feel, yes, exploration is done in our county, and we are also benefiting from this exploration, despite the 5% accrual that comes from the resource that is shared.
Right. So, Jen, let me come to you. We've seen what has happened to other countries that have become oil exporters, the likes of Nigeria. What is it that Kenya needs to do right now, that as much as we continue to explore our oil, in terms of politics, we do not end up where Nigeria is?
You know, it ought to have started from the time the legal team were working on the agreements on who is going to exploit, what's going to be done, until the laws were enacted. Because if you do a clean and airtight legislation or contracts, and then they are adhered to, and then we close all the panya routes for corruption, we will succeed. Because the last time I interacted with that law, I knew, other than just the 5%, whoever is tapping on the oil are supposed to do these social community things, the charitable institutions, hospitals, schools, and many other things to take care of the locals. If they get an extra 5%, that 5% is not so little. It's only the way you manage it. And if we look at all the other issues, we come with the lessons learned. Where did these other countries go wrong? Then we'll come up and we'll be able to do something which is good and solid.
And Mheshimiwa Buyu, so when you look at the event yesterday, and of course the processes that have been there since the early oil, what did you call it? Early oil exploration and sale. So are you convinced that you're on the right track in as far as moving forward with that journey is concerned?
I think we are on the right track, but I think that just like my colleagues have already said, we need to put more emphasis on just ensuring that we seal all the loopholes so that whatever we get out of this venture comes back to actually help the society or helps us and helps the people of Kenya. But I'd like to go back to what you just asked about the 5%. Obviously, all the governors were claiming stake and requesting to be given part of the goat. And that is okay, but the 70% that actually goes to the national government goes to develop the whole of Kenya. So every part of Kenya will benefit from that 70% through the government programs. So if 5% goes to the county or the region that actually has the oil in its area, it does not close them from also benefiting from the other 70%. So I think it's okay, and 5% is good enough for the local county where the oil or all the natural resources have been found, because they'll still benefit from 70%. But at some point, as I was watching TV, I thought, is this just one of those big flares that we have and then nothing is going to get out of it? And I remembered how we celebrated the Nyayo bus and all those cars, and you know, and people felt like now we are becoming a manufacturing country, and then it all just ended up being really, apart from being a fanfare, nothing came out of it. Sam was like, I hope something is going to come out of this, and I hope we are going to seriously do all we need to do to ensure that we exploit this and we get proceeds to make the country a better place.
Right. Honorable Shelley, if you look at this story on page 5, which still complements that, the fact that Kenya still doesn't have an oil pipeline, it is in the making, yes, but nevertheless, a scandal has already come out of that, the 40 billion Kipevu Oil Terminal scandal to carry on. But ESCC has been investigating the inflating of tenders. How can we go about the transparency of the projects that happen in Kenya without disclosing certain information? How do we push for that?
No, I think what has to happen, and that's why I think Nuruddin Haji and the DCI and EACC really are the ones who are going to save this country. Because like we've said, I've said many times on this show, that for me the muzigo is actually in the corruption. That is the muzigo we should punguza in this country, because that is where we lose most of our money. And so if this can be tightened, but also we need amendment to the laws. The public procurement law has to be changed in order for us to actually arrest the issue of inflating of tenders. There also has to be more access to information, public access to information, and I'm happy that recently I was able to work with the ombudsperson, the Commission on Administrative Justice, and they're working on ensuring that we have some regulations for access to information. Because when you're able to post any information on government contracts in the internet, what happens is it becomes more and more difficult for people to hide under lack of information. And that way we'll be able to have more people questioning and interrogating whether there is actually fraud happening or inflation of prices.
Okay.
But we never know that if the information is hidden. So it's two ways, the law and we have to have access to information.
All right. I want us to take a look at what the President had to say as far as corruption, the war against corruption is concerned. Of course, he was speaking quite generally, but also at some point very specific to what has been happening at the Kenya Ports Authority. Let's just listen to what he said yesterday.
You know, hata nyinyi here in the port, my friends, we are monitoring and we are watching. Tunajua ile pesa mlikuwa mnataka kutumia kule na ile tumetumia. Na ile mlikuwa mna intend kutumia. We know. Tunajua vile mnapanga huko, slow down huko, sijui nini, ati ndio mizigo iingie. Anyway, tunaelewa. Na mimi nataka niwaambie wote, kuna wasee sasa wameamua kufa, kupona. Kazi hii ya kuchimbua tabu. So please, msiseme ni mimi sijatuma mtu. Wewe ndio umekutwa ukifanya lako. Na hawa wasee hawachesi. I'm telling you, hawachesi na hawacheki. Tutasoma sisi tu kwa magazeti. Fulani ndio huyo tena ameenda, huyo siku nyingine fulani ndio huyo ameenda. So kila mtu pahali alipo fungua macho na ufikirie ile ambayo unafanya. Hakuna pahali ile mtu alikuwa anapiga simu, mambo yamekwenda, ni noma, nisaidie. Hizo simu zilizimwa. Sasa ni wewe ujitetee.
So that's the President, of course, speaking quite
tough.
Yeah, I also saw some people online say that he was speaking in parables, especially when you transcribe without his voice there. It can get confusing, but nevertheless, so in recent days, we've seen the Cabinet Secretary in charge of National Treasury, his Principal Secretary, arraigned and released on bail of 15 million shillings each. We've seen Governor of Kiambu, that is Ferdinand Waitito, released on 15 million shilling bail. Of course, those cases are still ongoing. There will be a mention in the month of September. When you look at the progress that we've made the past few weeks, or maybe the past few months, do you believe that you're now finally on course, that actually the war on graft can be undertaken without interruption or interference from politicians and politics? May I start with the
Okay.
Senate?
Thank you. I think, let me say that, of course, it's very clear to Kenyans what the President has just said. And I think, as a leader of this country, he's really tried to push the war on agenda, or the war on corruption. Personally, I would say that the corruption in this country is deep-rooted from that grassroots level. And I think for me, the institutions that are supposed to fight corruptions are the ones failing this country. We've seen so many being arrested. Where does it end up? Nowhere. So in as much as we want people to be arrested, we make sure that those matters are concluded and people are held responsible. If that is not happening, I think we are doing nothing. So we are not really seeing the real result
Reflecting on these recent cases,
Yes.
don't you think then we're finally on course, or you still think it will end up...
I really feel a lot is happening in terms of corruption,
Okay.
especially at the county level, leave alone national level. What are we doing about it? Devolution. That is why Kenyans are really agitating. In as much as Senate is fighting for more revenue going to the counties, what are the ordinary mwananchis feeling there, down there? They feel that the revenue that comes to them from national government is not helping them.
Right.
Because it's not properly used. E-procurement, that the president said all the counties must do e-procurement. It's nowhere. Yeah? IFMI system that is online, most of the counties are avoiding IFMI system because of corruption. Who is doing anything about it? It says president making noise, but he's being felled by those institutions that are supposed to fight corruption.
Right.
And I feel that we need to do a lot. And I think the buck stops with those institutions, not the president alone, and even ordinary mwananchi and the Kenyans. Yeah? I come from a county where people complain to me. We take our cases to EACC. Nothing is happening. Yeah? So where are we heading?
So, Secretary, that's
you.
where now that begs my question. As much as the Senator is saying a lot is happening, is this all just noise, or will we see something actually coming from it?
I don't think it's all noise. I think even the president has done first a major strategy. He changed who is in charge of what. And as you're seeing, he's brought in people who have background of intelligence. So most of these people, whatever they're doing, they know.
So this is not just a show for Kenyans?
It is not a show. I believe it's a good start. All that has to happen is it must continue. We must see results from every angle. And they should not go back. And I think people should support the president. Because this is where, as Sholei had said, this is the mzigo which has been eating up our money. And you saw there was a time there was an ambassador who said that they have fed us so much until we are throwing up on their feet. It is very bad when you're being supported, when we are looking for money, the taxpayers' money, you're coming out with it, suffering, and then people are misusing. So I think it's the right channel. All stakeholders, starting with the judiciary and any other, even within the intelligence, we should look for all these panya routes and close them again. We should tighten.
Honorable Sholei, the judiciary,
Yes.
the back ends with them. Are they doing enough?
And that's why I want to correct when you say we see a lot of progress. Just by charging people is not progress on the war on corruption. Ultimately, what will become progress is the number of convictions we can get and the airtight cases. And therefore, right now, once the investigating arms have done their work, they have brought people to court. Now the buck stops with the judiciary and the prosecution. And that is extremely important because I know where the DPP's office will have challenges is many occasions you have prosecutors who come to court and say, I'm not ready, my colleague is on leave, the father died, so he's not in court. And I've always said, anyone should be able to prosecute the case because there is a file. So any lawyer can pick it at that, if they just need to brief themselves and appear in court. So that's one cause of delay. Another one that I worry about is when I hear that they will have 140 witnesses. My God, when you have 140 witnesses, and then you have charged 24 people together, let's assume even if they each share a lawyer, that is 12 lawyers. To assemble 12 lawyers, to be in one place, at the same time, and to assemble 24 people at the same time to be in court, on one event, one person will have a challenge and not be able to come to court, something, you know, that's how cases get delayed. So sometimes, I would plead that the DPP moves into a much more concerted effort of strategy of how to prosecute the cases. Sometimes you may need to split some of the cases so that you're not having 24 people in one case. Another challenge will be the judiciary. Do they have the dedicated magistrates to hear the cases on a day-to-day basis? So those are some of the challenges that will be happening. But also remember, the DPP can take into plea bargaining. He can go into a plea bargain with some of the accused persons to become witnesses so that they get a conviction much faster.
Judiciary still hasn't been digitized. Do you think that would help? If the moment judiciary is digitized, we still have magistrates who take notes.
Actually, the cases move at the pace of the hand of the magistrate.
Exactly.
Yes.
Would digitization help?
Yes, that would have helped.
All right.
All right, I want to bring you in on these roles.
Let me just talk about that also.
Yes.
I think Kenyans just know the script. You pick any Kenyan in their sleep and they'll tell you, oh, they've been picked, there's hot air, or they'll be arraigned, and then they'll be out on bail, and that's where it ends and you don't hear about it. We need to see the end of some of these cases. We need to see them, you know, we need to see quick results, and by quick results, I do not mean that you deny somebody justice or convict somebody unfairly, but we need to see some of these cases being taken through up to the end. Because what happens, all the cases, whether they were 5 months ago, whether they are 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it is such hot air. Then people are bundled in and taken in on Friday, they are there the whole weekend, and then there's so much talk about it and nothing comes out of it. So Kenyans, anytime you see anybody being arraigned in court, it's like, yeah, they'll be out on bail, and then that's the end. So people are getting a bit lethargic about it, you know. So you need to infuse confidence, and what infuses confidence is by having before you arraign anybody or before you go public about what arrest you are making, just make sure that you're doing the right thing and you've got a good case.
Has the handshake helped the war on graft? Has it?
Of course it has. It has because, yes, don't laugh. It has because a lot of the times there was no political goodwill.
So if it wasn't for the handshake,
No, I'm not saying if it wasn't. It's not the only thing that has helped. But I'm saying it has also helped because it has given a good political atmosphere.
Senator, you're laughing.
And they're joined hands and fighting.
Yes, otherwise before, something would happen and the opposition or the government side would be, you know, up in arms against any action being taken. But now people seem to have accepted that let the institutions do their job.
Senator, you seem to be laughing. I want to get her thoughts
just
very
before
quickly.
she responds, because you need to take a break. Let's take a look at what Kenyans have been saying what they have been saying about President Kenyatta's voice there, what they were saying on Facebook. This is Wilkie Aba Abdullahi. Kila siku na vitisho, one big fish arrested, not serving any sentence in jail. Hiyo movie yako tumechoka nayo.
Exactly. All right. Exactly. Yes.
Rachel Wanjiku on Facebook, you say that they are doing a good job, but the judiciary ends up frustrating them.
Exactly.
There's someone else. This is Alfredo Cheng. We are used to such threats without action. The last one is Anthony Corril. Until we see someone being convicted and sentenced to at least 20 years, all this nikelele. So that's the raw reaction of Kenyans when they saw that voice of the president on what he was saying. And you talk about witnesses. In the case of Kipevu dams, there are 142 witnesses.
Poor strategy. Very poor strategy.
500,000 pages of evidence in DVDs, which is equivalent to 15,000 documents that have been prepared by the prosecution side. In the case of Pieting Waitito, there are 67 witnesses, and of course several documents in as far as the evidence is concerned. We'll be talking about that when we return, and also looking at the progress that is being made by the Director of Public Prosecutions in as far as the tax evasion cases are concerned in court. Back in a moment.